What's up, everyone? I'm John Galland, and over the past 3 years, I've assigned and closed over 250 transactions in the state of Florida, which resulted in over $46 million worth of real estate. During that period, I've helped wholesalers make over $1 million worth of assignment fees, and I've paid out over $1 million in agent commissions. So as of March 2025, I had a team of around 19 people. I since cut back a little bit, but I started building my team after about 9 months into my wholesaling journey. Along the way, I made a ton of mistakes, as you can imagine, and I've had to fire a bunch of people. However, those mistakes were very valuable learning experiences and helped me come up with the way and the new process that we have for onboarding our new hires. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the 8 steps that we do to correctly onboard a new hire. Step 1 is we send them the Trainual usually a week before their start date. Trainual is basically it's content for your team. It's the course for the role and that they're going to be filling, and also the background on the company. So as you could see here, for the content, right? Like you could organize by content. You could also check on statuses of people in your company to see like how far along they are on certain parts, right? Landon 100% done with his things. Group, it puts in the group. So you could really start just organizing your people based on the roles and the departments they're in. But the content we have, you have all content, company, policies, processes. So like I said, it's a course for your company. You have the welcome to Easy Res, industry and overview, getting started, team managers, team interaction, and then everything over here. So we're not going to give them access to everything. The Trainual they have access to is just for their specific roles. So like when you open it up for home, it'll show exactly what they have access to here for them. What is completed, what is left to do. And inside of it, you have the different steps, right? So I have like the purpose and results, the prospect versus lead. And you could go back and you could see direct to agent, acquisitions overview, all the topics you have, if you completed them, if you're in progress, the different steps that you need to complete in order to be done. So we have them watch the Trainual a week before they start because we want them to get acclimated with the role, have a good understanding of the role, and if they have any confusion or any questions, they can bring it up during their first week of onboarding. So that's Trainual just in a nutshell. I'm not going to make a full video on Trainual, but this is what we send to them first. So step 1 is send them the Trainual. Obviously, if you don't have anything documented, I would recommend, if you don't want to use Trainual, you could use Google Drive, but have some sort of SOPs and some documentation so that when you bring somebody on, they have stuff already they could look at to familiarize themselves with the role. So that's step 1 is send the Trainual. Step 2 is what we'll do is we'll create what I call the EP folder or employee profile folder for that person in the G Drive. We use G Drive for document storage, and so people could have their own Google Drive where they could store some of the documents they use currently, frequently. So everybody on our team has 2 different folders. Besides the team like overall folder, we have the Easy Res G Drive, which is broken down into paperwork template. It's broken down by department, and in the department there's other folders, but each person will also have their own folder in that department. But then they also have their EP folder. And what the EP folder is, it just has all the important documents. So if I open up this blank checklist right here, it'll show you in the employee profile folder, you'll have their contracts. So you have their Word doc, you'll have their signed PDF, you'll have their culture index profile, basically what type of personality they have, the personality test, and then the motivators for that specific personality test. You'll have their assigned position description. You'll have their 30, 60, 90-day plan document. And I'll go over these in a second. Growth roadmap is something that I'm thinking of. We haven't edited it yet, so that's why it's in red, because it's not done yet. We have their onboarding document, which just, again, I'll show you the onboarding document, what that is. Their one-on-one meeting notes, and then the goals from their meeting notes. Performance agreements and performance improvement plans. We don't have any of that just yet, but those are some things we're thinking of adding as well. So you could see, even though we have it done right now, we're still updating the EP. And then their offboarding document, which is when you let somebody go, and their tax docs. So that goes into their EP. And so inside somebody's EP, it'll have all of those documents. So now I'm not gonna go into somebody's EP right now, but I'll just show you some of the onboarding templates. In Agent Outreach, right? This is the onboarding document, and I'll go over each of this, but this is the onboarding plan. So it basically gives you the information, the paperwork and equipment that you need, and you check it off when it's given. then the tools and accounts that they're going to be using, the resources they have, what week 1 looks like, what week 2 looks like, 3 and 4, right? So that's the onboarding plan document. They get access to that, they see it, we review it together, and then they make sure they understand it. They also have the agent outreach. This is the 30, 60, 90-day plan. So it gives you the clarity of the role, the key 3 responsibilities, what success means in this role, the time frame for such success, what should happen in 30, 60, 90 days, clarity as a whole team collaboration, all that stuff, and clarity of goals for what needs to be done. So that's the 30, 60, 90-day plan. The position description is basically just a 1-page document that just outlines the major responsibilities and roles of the position, and then they sign that just to make sure that they understand that. So that's basically everything in the EP. The other thing is the one-on-one meeting template. This is the meeting template we use for almost all different meetings we have. So you have the mission statement and core values of the company, the meeting agenda, the link to the KPI sheets, their objectives and key responsibilities, key results, which is like their goals, and then the issue and to-do list template, which is where we add stuff that we want to talk about, and we follow this so that we have a structured meeting, and any topics that we all want to put in and discuss, we discuss that on those meetings. So that's just the template. So we hire them. So step 1 is a Trainual, and step 2 is setting up the EP profile. And then step 3 is basically going to follow the onboarding checklist, right? So you're going to follow week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So for the rest of the steps, it's basically going to be depending on the day. So for instance, step 4 is day 1. Right? What do you do on day 1? Step 5 is what do you do during week 1? Step 6 is what you do during week 2. Step 7 is what you do during weeks 3 to 4. And then step 8 is months 2 and 3. Basically, onboarding is gonna be like a 90-day plan, a 90-day delegation plan. So that's those 8 steps. The Trainual, creating the EP, following the first 4 weeks, starting with day 1, week 1, weeks 2, week 3 and 4, and then months 2 and 3. So now let's get into day 1. So on day 1, what I'm going to do is get on a meeting with them when they first start. We'll make sure that they've gone through the Trainual and see if they have any questions, which we'll save for later. But on day 1, I'll go through the onboarding documents, all the documents in the EP folder, talk to them about that, show them the organizational chart of the company so they could see everybody on the team, what role they have, like the reporting lines and everything, so that when they see somebody's name in Discord, which is the channel that our team talks to, they know what role they have and what they do in the company. So we go over all of that so they get a very high level overview of the company. And then, from going through the documents in the EP, we make sure that they understand what their role is, the responsibilities, and everything, and see if they have any questions about the company, the team, the structure, or, basically their role. So that's really day 1, super light, super, and then we kind of let them know it's super light and laid back, and we kind of let them know what the rest of the week will look like, the second week, the third, the fourth. So we go over the plan with them all on day 1. And if they have anything else left over for Trainual to watch, we'll make sure they finish it up on day 1. So then for week 1, mostly for any of the sales roles or anybody that's coming on, week 1 is mostly going to be systems training, because we need to make sure that they understand the system that they're going to be working in order to do the rest of their role. So step 1 is for week 1 is they're going to meet with Daniel on our team. He's going to go over the CRM and help them with any of the systems related work that they're going to need help with. He'll show them the system, answer any questions they have. They would have already had a good introduction through the system from the Trainual, so see what any questions they have from the Trainual as well, and then they'll watch Daniel walk through the system. We made a practice account too, that after a few walkthroughs, they'll start practicing in, and Daniel will shadow them just to make sure that he knows that they understand how to navigate through the system. So we make a practice part of the system, a practice sub account, so that they don't go into the live one and mess things up. It's all in practice, so it's okay if they screw things up, because nothing's gonna happen. As they start working on the system, they get familiar with the systems, right? They get familiar with Trello, they get familiar with Discord, they get familiar with Go High Level and any of the other platforms that we're using. Then we also start introducing them to live examples. So we'll give them live examples like, hey, if it's an agent role, hey, you just spoke to an agent and they said they have a deal coming up. Where would you move them in the CRM? And then we see how they navigate that. So by the end of week 1, we want them to get really comfortable in the system so that when they do start actually live working the work on week 2, they're not having bogged down by system issues and putting things in wrong places, because the worst thing that could happen is their pipelines get all out of whack. And then also we do one-on-ones 2 times a week usually. We want to check in on them. Maybe Monday, we just see how things are going, give them the introduction of the week and what's going to happen, the intention of the week, and then we follow up with them maybe on a Friday and just see how did the week go, any questions, any concerns. But we meet with them at least once a week during the first 4 weeks. And during the first week, they start attending all the team meetings, and they'll just be on all the team meetings from then on. So that's kind of week 1 in a nutshell. It's a systems week. Week 2, they start working. They start doing the live, they start doing the thing. They're working in the real system, the live system. Maybe now if they're in a sales role, they're going to be doing a lot of role playing. And we start by just focusing on the foundational conversations first before bringing on everything at once. So we start getting them a good foundation with the role playing, and then they start actually having conversations and start getting really good at conversations. And then they also have an end of the day pipeline review with Daniel. Now that they're working in the live system and there's no more shadowing, he's going to go ahead and verify with them, how did you do with the pipeline and the day? Let's see, was it good? Did you mess anything up? Anything we got to go over? So they're still kind of getting a systems training towards the end, but it's just more reviewing their systems work. And now it's real life examples, role playing and objection handling and all that stuff, introducing them to the other tools for the company, like the call checklist or the objection training document or the scenario handling document, all this other stuff. So now they're actually starting to get into the role. We still keep the one-on-ones going during the second week as well. And we really want to make sure that they understand what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why it's important, and see if there's any roadblocks that they have or where they're struggling. And then if they're sending calls for review, we'll go over the call reviews, give them some tips and tricks to help them refine their pitch or their tone or whatever, just to make sure that they're good to go when they're talking to the agents or the buyers, and they're getting live feedback from us as well. So that's weeks 2. It's more of like refining the systems and starting to get into the role itself and start to do what needs to be done, and getting trained up on how to speak to people, how to negotiate if they're in the sales role, or if not, like now they're doing real live examples and just getting feedback from us on how it's going, if they're struggling, if they're doing some things incorrectly, how to fix that. So now it's really where it starts. And then week 3 is a little bit more it's pretty much the same as week 2, still practicing examples, still doing end of day pipeline, still role playing, but still doing the live thing. We're still monitoring it, seeing how everything's doing. For instance, for agents, I'm listening to their calls every single day, at least 3 to 4, maybe even 5 or 6 calls every single day, meeting with them, giving them feedback on that. We're role playing a little bit more, and then they're still calling agents. Now, I'm not expecting their KPIs to be crazy high for the first 4 weeks because there's still a lot of hands-on training, but by the end of week 4, they should be good to go to rock and roll and hit those KPIs. But at the end of week 3, still doing the live training, still daily reviewing, and still doing the one-on-ones to monitor performance. So now for weeks 3 to 4, it's going to be basically the same thing. It's a little bit more of week 2, minus the end of day pipeline reviews on the systems. This is where now it's more so like I'm going to be role playing with them on specific calls. They're going to be working on different calls, right? If they're dispo, if they're sales, we're going to be working on them on refining the different types of calls they'll be having, making sure they have a good foundation. Again, I'll be listening to their calls. Helena will be listening to their calls, and then we'll give them live feedback. So we'll meet for that, give the feedback about how to, some things that they have to change. We were role playing some more. So it's still a mix of role playing if they're in a sales position, and them doing the live examples and them actually doing the work and just getting more refinement on how they speak. So weeks 3 and 4 is still a refinement. I'm not expecting their KPIs to be super high because we are still meeting pretty frequently about the calls, still having the one-on-ones to check on performance, still reviewing their work and doing the daily call reviews. From what I found too is when I do their call reviews, I'll record it on Loom. So I play their call and I'll just give the feedback on the call. So when they go ahead and listen back to it, they could hear their call and get my feedback at the same time. So I found that to be very helpful when I'm onboarding salespeople. So weeks 3 and 4 is just a refinement. And then months 2 and 3, they're still doing the call reviews. I'm still reviewing their calls. But now we just have the normal meeting hours. Now maybe we're meeting bi-weekly for one-on-ones. They're still coming onto the team meetings. I'm still monitoring KPIs and all that stuff. But this time they're pretty much self-sufficient at this point. They're gonna still have questions about objections here and there. But now I'm just asking them, how do you think you would respond? How would you do this? How would you do that? Trying to give more accountability, because after the first 4 weeks of such heavy hands-on and in-depth training, they should be ready to rock and roll. And now they might just have one-off scenarios where they need help with. but you still monitor their performance, still listen to their calls to see if they're progressing or if they're declining and where they need some help on. And now at this point is where I'm going to come up with more strategic game plans for each person. I'll write out what I think they're really good at, what they're struggling with, and then come up with a game plan to really level up that new hire. And then the one-on-ones, like I said, they're probably once a week or once every 2 weeks. And during this, I monitor their behaviors and their performance, write down anything of concern, see what they need help with or what they think they need help with from me, what else I could do more of so they're successful in the role. Go over any concerns or things that might be blocking them, and still making sure they know how to do the what, when, how, why, and any roadblocks. But now they should be able to operate at a normal pace, and now they're focusing on increasing their volume. Now it's a volume game. After the first 4 weeks, now they could do volume, and they should be ramping up their pace, hitting the volume, starting to get contracts or selling deals or whatever at this point, and starting to operate normally. By the end of the 90 days, they should be self-sufficient and an A player ready to go. A lot of us spend so much time looking for the perfect candidate, but then once we get the perfect candidate and we get that person on our team, we kind of just let them go. Maybe we give them a week of delegation and expect them to be ready to go and kind of abdicate. We don't really delegate, we abdicate, where we just let go of our responsibilities and not help the person really set them up for success in the role. This is why a solid onboarding process is super important. The system that we have right now ensures that our new hire is set up for success, and that after the first 4 weeks, they should be seeing results almost instantaneously. Everything is documented on the onboarding checklist. You could follow through it and see what you have to do, and they could even follow along to see where they're going to be going in their process. So we follow the process consistently, and the new hires know what to expect. A great team starts with great onboarding.